The world was locked in a decades-long struggle known as the Cold War, a period of intense political tension and military rivalry between the Western powers, led by the United States, and the Eastern Bloc, led by the Soviet Union. Both sides stockpiled weapons of mass destruction, with the potential to annihilate entire nations.
4, 3, 2, 1, ignition.
The possibility of nuclear war was ever present, and the stakes were high. In response, modern military forces around the world adapted to the new realities of the Cold War. They developed new technologies, improved their tactics, and trained constantly to be ready to fight at a moment's notice. The threat of an enemy attack meant that every soldier had to be prepared to fight in any environment, from the cold of the Arctic to the heat of the desert. Survival skills were taught alongside combat tactics, as soldiers learned to adapt and improvise in any situation. Aircraft played a key role in the military's efforts during the Cold War. Bombers could deliver devastating payloads deep into enemy territory, while fighter jets provided air cover and engaged in dogfights with enemy planes. Naval forces also played a crucial role in the Cold War, with submarines patrolling the depths and warships guarding strategic locations around the world. Despite the tensions and the potential for catastrophic conflict, soldiers on both sides of the Iron Curtain worked tirelessly to maintain peace and stability. Their dedication and sacrifice helped to prevent the outbreak of a global war and paved the way for a new era of diplomacy and cooperation. The Cold War may be over, but the lessons learned and the sacrifices made by those who served during this era continue to shape the modern military today.
Okay, my name is Byron Jubek, okay? My father was a coal miner. Okay, when I joined the military, I joined the Air Force when I was 17. Okay, and after I got out of the Air Force, my brother, Pete, started Sir Pizzas in Lansing. And he made me come up here and help him, and we started Sir Pizzas in the 70s in Lansing. And I've been in business ever since that, and I've met a lot more people, and I've really got a lot out of life, and I've enjoyed my life, and I'm 79 years old. Yeah.
What wars or battles have you been in before?
I was in the Air Force from 1963 to 67. I was in SAC. I was on the ground crew for the B-52. It's going to be here longer than me. It was an airplane that never got old.
What was it like?
In the Air Force?
Yeah.
Well, when you're right out of high school and you join, and you came from a small southwestern town in Pennsylvania, and your father was a coal miner, and you lived in a little shitburg. When you go in to I was never on an airplane when I enlisted. So this is a dramatic change. Yes, I've done things, but when you get on an airplane, you right out of high school, and you join the military, it's a big shock. And yes, it's a big shock, and it's a very big experience that you did a 17 or 18-year-old person coming out of high school and gets into the military, which is a very big deal.
What was your job exactly?
I was a crew chief on the B-52. We made sure that they were ready to fly. The B-52 was a very important airplane. It wasn't it's a bomber, okay, 8-engine bomber, and it's been around since 1952. It's one of the most reliable, best aircraft that the military's ever made, and it's still here, and it's going to outlast me.
What was the one thing you want to relive in the military?
My comrades. You develop some very, very special relationships with people all over the country and sometimes the world, and they are your brothers. And you would die for your brothers. You would die for your brother, right? Would you die for your brother?
I would.
Yes, and you would die for your brother?
I would.
Well, then when you get into the military, you have a bunch of new brothers. Okay, simple as that.
Was there any huge problem you saw during your time?
Huge problems? Nothing really huge because you didn't make it huge. Okay, you went in there to learn. You went in there to something that you've never done before. Okay, is a learning experience. And when you put your mind to it, your heart to it, and your body to it, you want to learn and you're able to do it. So we wanted to deter anybody from dropping or causing harm to the freedom, to our freedoms and the free people of our country. Okay? And we also to the freedoms of people that want to be free in the world. You can't cure everything, and you can't make everybody free. First of all, you have to want to be free, and you have to earn your freedom. This is one thing about us, that we, the American, this greatest country that so far that's ever been in existence, this is one of the things that we believe in, is freedom. Freedom of speech and freedom to voice your opinion, and without violence, no violence, but the freedom to speak in religion and all the other. The military is to train a group of people to defend our country, okay? No matter what.
Were you affected mentally in any way?
Not really. I wasn't mentally, I wasn't. I grew up. I handled my responsibility in life. Yeah, you grew up. The camaraderie with all your comrades, and you developed all these relationships with all these people all over the country. And yes, you changed. You change very much so. You learn. You learn from experiences and from things that you do.
So it's recording, so I just want you to say your name, how old you are, and what you used to do.
Yeah, Harry House. I'm 91 years old. And I used to be a tool and die hardener at the Buick.
First question. How old were you when you joined the military?
I was 20 years old.
20 years old. Did you get drafted?
I did get drafted.
Do you remember what your basic training was like?
I surely do. I can tell you right from the start. We put on a troop train here in Michigan and took off around the country. And they didn't, in those days when you're in the service, all you did was follow orders. They didn't give you any information on what was happening. So they'd stop someplace like Fort Chaffee, Arkansas, and then some other buddy would get off and you wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Finally got off in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And that's because that's an artillery school. But still had 3 or 4 weeks of basic training, like for a infantryman or something. Then we went into learned about artillery for a little longer than that.
So I'm guessing that you guys probably went through obstacle courses and jumping over walls, crawling under.
They do some obstacle courses and stuff like that, and of course the one that sticks in your mind is you're crawling around through barbed wire and stuff, and they're shooting live bullets over your head. Make sure you keep your head down, don't get up. So that's the one you remember, and then they teach you how to shoot a rifle and be accurate with it. Of course, there's not much of a problem if somebody grew up in Michigan hunting all their life, but they do teach you how the right positions to be accurate.
What were your living conditions like?
The living conditions was better than a lot of guys had it over there in the war, because we had our own tent right near where the gun emplacement was. We had our gun pit, so we had a tent, and we had a tent where we ate our meals. And then later on, we got a Quonset hut to eat the meals in. That was a big upgrade for that. But we always lived in tents, and otherwise, they kept you working all day long, because if they let the soldiers get where they don't have anything to do, they gripe. So the morale was up, keep working. But we didn't have much problem because at the time I got there, the front lines were pretty static, and it was a good share of it was an artillery war. So we fired all times, day and night. If at nighttime we didn't have much of a war going on at night because we have no night goggles. It was all before night goggles or anything like that. But night we did what they call time on target. Get up every 2 hours, but not exactly on time, just randomly around 2 hours, and you'd have something over on their side, maybe a crossroads. We knew where it was, and so we'd shoot a salvo of shells over to land on a crossroads in case they happened to be using the roads at night, because that's when they moved. And then if they were going to have an attack, they did that at night, and then we were up all night.
What was the biggest challenge that you experienced during the war?
Trying to get some sleep. We didn't get a lot of sleep.
So my name is Richie Blankenberg. I'm 18 years old. I've been in the military for a year and 2 months now, and I'm a 91 Bravo, which means that I am an all-purpose mechanic.
What's basic training like?
It's hard, but it's kind of fun. Once you leave, you kind of miss it, but you also kind of don't at the same time. But a small part of you kind of wants to go back, but it's tough overall.
Was there any huge problem you saw during your time?
No, lots of people in the military now. Lots of kind of have that thing down of like, you can't be racist, you can't be sexist, you can't be homophobic. All that stuff kind of is taken very seriously now. So there's really not many problems with that anymore. Some people are still kind of rude, but if you bring it up, if you tell them that you're making them uncomfortable, or if you're being rude, then they'll stop most of the time. And if not, then you can just talk to an officer and they'll get it done.
What were some of the reasons you joined the military?
The benefits. That's basically it.
What weapons were you equipped with?
The M4, M249, and grenades.
What do you remember about the day you enlisted?
It being stressful. It's a very stressful progress. There's a lot of waiting. You do a lot of different tests, psychological, physical. When you get your physical done, you just sit in a room with a whole bunch of dudes in your underwear in like this cold room, just kind of waiting to get checked out.
How did you tell your family and friends that you're joining the military?
I kind of just told my dad and my grandma already kind of just knew, but my mom and my aunt weren't really expecting it. They were kind of shocked, but I was just like, yeah, I joined. It is what it is.
How did you imagine military life before you joined?
I kind of had a good idea of what it was going to be like, because having many family members that were in the military, kind of already grew up with a little bit of military lifestyle in my day-to-day life. So when I joined, it was kind of what I expected. Nothing really too drastic, nothing really too different. It was just not really too mind-blowing.
Do you have any funny moments from boot camp?
We were going to Mermagen, which is where you throw grenades for the first time, and where you're taught how to throw grenades. And before you go, you're supposed to wear this thing called IOTV, which is like your chest plate. It has Kevlar and stuff in it to help block bullets. And you wear that, and your ACH, which is your combat helmet, and your knee pads and elbow pads. And people used to sneak food in from the defect, which is kind of like a cafeteria, and people would hide it in certain things, and that was a kind of good spot to hide it. But if you know we're getting checked to make sure everything's all set, then it's kind of dumb to leave it in there still. So we were all online, and our drill sergeants were checking everyone, and he opened it, and all you hear is like a on the floor, and then he starts flipping. He's like, "What is that? What is that product?" And we look, and it's a freaking little packet of peanut butter. And we got smoked big time for that one. That was rough, but that was funny. There's a couple other funny ones, but they're all inappropriate. That's the only appropriate one.
What are some of the things you remember about adapting to military life?
Kind of just, again, I kind of already got it down because of my family, but being on time, like being on time's really big. You always want to arrive 10 to 5 minutes early. Just be respectful. Don't be like scared to ask questions because they might make fun of you a little bit, but if you genuinely need help, they'll just help you if you need it. So don't be like afraid to ask questions, even though it might be kind of scary, but it's not, yeah, it's really not that bad.
In life is what you make it. And you know, and the thing, this is the greatest country in the world, and you could be anything you want to be, and you can do anything you want to do within the law. And at your ages, go for it, guys. Don't let nothing stop you. Okay? If you want to join the military, okay, for experience and whatever, good. And you could really do good in the military because you can get a lot of education. Plus, you could go, and a lot of them will pay for it. Okay? And if you are lagging in life, get out of your lag and do something with your life. Okay?